All right, so we're here with the legendary Chris Birch in Morocco. Chris, tell us a little bit about this new bike.
Yeah, well, it's an all-new bike, a whole new thing for KTM, and it's a weapon.
How's the riding been the last couple of days?
The riding's been really good. It takes a while for me to get my head around riding in the desert, coming from New Zealand, adapting to the speed and adapting to the terrain, but the bike's been looking after me. I've got a lot of stuff very, very wrong, but I'm still here thanks to this one.
So if you were to compare this to the 1090 Adventure R, what's the takeaway that you take from this bike as a different model?
That's a tough thing. They're very, very different bikes. It's hard to say. It's completely different class motorbikes. Very, very different. Yeah. I struggle to answer this question. Obviously, your seat height's a lot lower. It's a smaller bike. It's easier to manage off-road. It obviously doesn't have the punch and the torque that the big V-twin has, but still, a lot of power. It just does it in a very different way.
Maybe talk a little bit about the suspension and the ergonomics.
Yeah, so probably the biggest standout for me riding this bike, and the thing I had to get my head around the most in the early days was the suspension. It's in a whole nother league. So we have the same suspension setup that we use in the EXCs. So you have really good control over the stroke, it holds up really well, and you can hold the power on and accelerate through obstacles, terrain that you'll be braking very, very hard for on any other adventure bike.
And then can you talk a little bit for us about the dashboard and how that works?
Yeah, so that's actually, unfortunately we don't have the key for this one, so I can't show you. But there's some really big innovations and changes on this bike compared to the 1090, 1290. Hardcore adventure bike guys will be very happy to hear you can now flick between traction control modes and ABS modes without having to stop and slow or even slow down. So you can go between off-road mode, off-road mode ABS and street mode ABS on the fly at pace, which is very, very cool. We've got rally mode, so you can put the bike into rally mode, you'll get a more aggressive throttle response, and you can dial up and down your slip adjust as you're riding. So going from 1, which is virtually no help from the traction control, all the way up to 10, which intervenes really early and looks after you, and you can do that as you're riding along. So, you might be cruising along the desert at sort of, 5, you've got a bit of spin if you want it, but it's going to look after you. You see some soft sand coming, whack it down to 1, get that wheel spin, get through the sand, back it back up again. It's very cool to be able to do that as you're riding along without having to stop and mess around like we have done previously.
Well, tell us a little bit about the route for tomorrow's off-road ride.
Yes, the route for tomorrow is just, classic Moroccan rally riding stuff, fast, open trails. If you're in my group, we're going to do a lot of off-piste stuff, so just hacking across the desert, basically, what you want to be doing on an adventure bike.
All right, we are here with Quinn Cody, the man. Hey Quinn, you've been out on this bike here in Morocco for a few days now. Tell us your favorite things you like about this bike.
So I think number one is probably just the suspension handling package. The bike rides really light. It's really agile. You can really cover ground and ride at a high speed and have plenty of confidence, plenty of reserves. The second thing I think that I like most is the electronics package. Electronics are really nice on this bike. We have an off-road slip adjust, so you can actually control the amount of traction control that it gives you from 1, which is almost off, so it's almost 0 intervention, all the way up to 9, which is full intervention. And this is the first time I've really ridden an electronic traction control that doesn't interfere with you, that actually helps you. So that's probably my number 2 thing.
Is that in the rally mode?
That's correct, yeah. So that's within rally mode, and then you have 3 different throttle responses, so you can have rally, street, or off-road. The off-road throttle response is another thing that I really like on this bike, because it reduces the torque of the engine and it makes it super smooth, super easy to ride. So if you're riding through loose cobbly rocks, the bike tracks perfectly, the suspension reacts, it doesn't deflect off of anything. It's really, really nice to ride.
So if I was to buy one of these at my KTM dealer, what is like your go-to setting for setting this bike up for off-road?
I mean, it's pretty much ready to go out of the box, honestly. The suspension is so good, you honestly don't have to do anything to it. You know, a guy like me can go out and ride the thing across the desert and not touch the suspension. You know, my setting is I put it in rally mode, rally throttle response, off-road slip adjust, level 5. I just like it right in the middle, and I run it right there all day long.
So level 5, that's right in the middle. Will that be okay in the sand for when we're riding tomorrow?
So the good thing about it is you can adjust it on the fly. So as you're riding, if you feel like you're going to drop into some deep sand, you just toggle the button down and go down to 1, and it works really well in the sand. You have no problem. You know, and then when you get on some loose gravelly stuff, you can turn it back up to 6, 7, 8, however you want to adjust it.